Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, I felt like playing elves, so I found quite a recent list that had this interesting card that I'd not seen before. Torsten, founder of Benalia. So it's a 7 mana 7/7. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of creatures and or land cards from among them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When he dies, you get 7/1/1 soldiers. So this is basically a full reload because it's going to hit everything apart from these cards. So that seems pretty cool. I can see why they were running that as like if you're low on stuff in the tank but you've got one of these natural orders kicking around, you can just go and sack Dryad Arbor and just reload your whole hand. That seems to make sense. And then they had the new dinosaur that has like toxic and stuff in it. I didn't really see the point of having that, so I've put in this card, which is something I've been wanting to play with for a while. Apex Altisaur. It comes into play, it fights something, and then it fights something again. It just keeps fighting until there's nothing left to fight or it's dead. Which is pretty cool. You can just smash a load of things, buy yourself a load of time, and it's also a big old boy. So what is this deck trying to do? We are trying to play a bunch of 1 mana elves for the most part, and draw a load of cards with a glimpse of nature, recycle things using Wirewood Symbiote to get multiple Elvish Visionary triggers, and then cast a Natural Order or Green Sun Zenith for Craterhoof Behemoth to give our creatures a huge power toughness boost and trample and kill our opponent. The unorthodox cards here, apart from the ones I've mentioned, is also the Leaf Crown Visionary. So this pumps your elves and it lets you draw cards when you cast elf spells. This doesn't really see play in a lot of elf builds, but it was in this build I saw and I thought I'd give it a go. The elf build I saw also had 3 Boseijus, but I could only get hold of 1 for today. So we've got more forests than we would normally have in this list. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think nothing unusual. So we've got Nettle Sentinels, Heritage Druids. These tap for mana between them, and you power things out, and then you untap your Nettle Sentinel, power out more mana, etc., etc. All right, that's that. We got the glue of the Green Sun Zenith as well, and the Grist is like a nice tutor. Anyway, sideboard-wise, we've got some removal in Snuff Outs. So we've got a couple of bios we can go find to make sure that we can enable this, and a Dismember as well. 4 Thoughtseize for combo matchups that can go underneath us. 3 Ley Lines and 2 Endurance for when we need to beat graveyard decks, as well as a Scavenging Ooze. We've got 1 Craterhoof, which is also going to be for a lot of the combo decks, so it's going to shut down things like Lotus Petals and Lion's Eye Diamonds. And 1 Reclamation Sage, which is one you used to see in elf decks quite a lot, but has fallen by the wayside. But I think it's a pretty interesting card. It lets you tutor for something to smash things, but it doesn't let you tutor to smash things like Torpor Orb. So not having a Force of Vigor or something is a little bit awkward, but the upside is that we can tutor for it with all of these cards if we need to. So yeah, should be interesting to see how this works. Obviously, it's not too different from normal elves, but I do want to try and get things like Torsten into play and see how they feel. All right, before we jump into a league with this elf deck, let me just say, if you can like, comment, and subscribe, these things cost you nothing, and they're the best way of helping my channel out. So why not give it a whirl? Okay, let's play a Legacy League with Torsten Elves or something like that, or Apex. I don't know. Let's play some elves. Okay, this seems to have a lot of the things we want to be doing here, so I think we can keep this. This might be a situation where we natural order for the guy that draws us 7 cards, but we'll see what our opponent does first. Swamp, so probably getting Thoughtseized. Yep. Okay, so we probably lose either the Natural Order or the Heritage Druid, I reckon, here. They might take the Nettle Sentinel, but I think that's very unlikely. They did take Nettle Sentinel. Interesting. Okay, so they're obviously valuing our power to throw stuff out. Okay, that's an interesting one to draw. I'll play out the Birchlore Rangers. We need to get some stuff down, so see how we go. Next turn, we can play the Heritage Druid and the Dryad Arbor. Turn after, we can Craterhoof, we can Natural Order for the guy that draws us 7 cards. Okay, we're probably losing the Natural Order now. Having the second Thoughtseize makes the Nettle Sentinel pick more sensible there. Okay, so I guess we're going to attacks. Get our 1 point damage in. I think we will play this Dryad Arbor and play this Heritage Druid. We could hold the Heritage Druid in case we draw a glimpse or something, but I think we're best off just getting creatures on the board. We can do a little bit of damage. If we draw a Cradle, that's 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we're getting to reasonable amounts of mana. A Lotus Petal. So this means our opponent's probably on Doomsday. So reducing our opponent's life total is of the utmost importance. Okay, Esper Doomsday. This could be... All these cards are still in Doomsday. They usually have 1 Lion's Eye Diamond for specific. Now, they could be winning this turn off of a Doomsday. Ad Nauseam. Okay. They are not a Doomsday deck. Alright, they're doing an ad nauseam. They can definitely fail here because they're going from a relatively low life total. They have 3 mana floating though. That Tendrils of Agony is not a great hit for them there. So they can keep flipping, but they can probably die to something in their deck if they carry on. What they have in hand isn't enough, I don't believe. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they need to keep flipping here. Unless they want to do like a half Tendrils to keep themselves alive for longer. Well, they probably haven't played a land yet actually, so... Okay, so this is Storm Count 5. Playing out the Wishclaw. This can just be spun up for a free Storm actually. 7. Okay, they're going for a Past in Flames line by the looks of it. All these are in the graveyard. So they're going to Past in Flames now with 1 black floating. Well, they have 2 Dark Rituals here. So they cast 1, they cast the next one, then they Thoughtseize us, then they Tendrils us. It's free for them to Thoughtseize us here, so they may as well give it a go. And we'll concede because the Tendrils are coming. Alright. So, we want our Craterhoof. We do not need our Allosaurus. So, some of these things have text. The Thoughtseize is an essential here. These things have text of varying amounts. But let's try and fit these in first. So we might need to reload Gaea. I don't think this is going to be a Grist game. I think we can get rid of that one. I don't know if we're going to have the time to do grinding with a Leaf Crown Visionary either. So that can probably go. I think we don't want to be overboarding here. So we probably can't take out... We can't put in all the graveyard hate, I don't think, here. I think we just have to keep these in, because this is the best disruption we have. So we want glimpses, because we want to be able to do our silly glimpse turns. Maybe it's 1 Shepherd can go, because that doesn't really build to our engine. Maybe we don't have time to do Wirewood Symbiote grinding, so we can get rid of that. And we'll go for this. I was surprised to see the Tundra, and then them going into Storm. But I know the Epic Storm is playing Silence now, so I have to imagine that that's what our opponent is playing as well. But they look like they're an ad nauseum Tendrils build rather than the Epic Storm, because they got the Past in Flames line, which means they tend to be slower than the Epic Storm, because they're not trying to Galvanic Relay us and draw a bunch of cards pretty much every turn with relays until they kill us. That's not what they're really about. They're just trying to build up for one big turn. So punching a hole in that with the Thoughtseize is a lot more effective than against the Epic Storm. Right, so on the play, what does our hand look like? I don't think this is the one, is it? We're going to need some help if we keep something like this, because we might be able to Green Sun Zenith for our scary thing, but we got 2 doubles and these aren't really helping us. I think we can do better. So what does this look like? A turn 1 Nettle Sentinel, a turn 2 Visionary, and then a turn 3 Craterhoof. I think turn 3 Craterhoof is potentially too slow here. We do have a Boseiju though, so maybe we can nab something if they try and do a pass line. So let's try this one out. We could have tried to Green Sun Zenith for a Dryad Arbor this turn, so that we have a slim chance of drawing a second Green Sun Zenith for next turn to get the turn 2 Craterhoof. But I think that's a realistic proposition. I think we're better off just to have this banked for turn 3. This sort of matchup tends to be pretty difficult for the Elf deck, because they can outclock us and we don't have the most amount of interaction. Right, so it's our opponent's turn. Let's see how bad it is. Polluted Delta. If they Thoughtseize us, it gets rid of our chance to Craterhoof. Ponder, it could bring them closer to being able to win the game. We know they have a basic, so we can't really Boseiju whatever they find here. It's not going to actually cut them down on mana. Sure, a Thoughtseize, so we're definitely going to lose our Green Sun here. There it goes. Glimpse of Nature. Not really the one we want right now. We'll take our Nettle Sentinel. A little bit of damage. We'll play out our Windswept Heath. Go on and get ourselves a Bayou. And cast a Elvish Visionary, which untaps our Nettle Sentinel. So we can attack next turn or do some other stuff next turn. And we draw a card from this. Okay, so we have a Craterhoof next turn if we get another turn. Okay. Is this a brainstorm just to find that last card, or is this just a brainstorm to set up for next turn? Usually these ad nauseum Tendrils decks require 2 turn setup, so we might be able to put this Craterhoof into play. And then we're probably just on very medium men beat down at that point. Okay, this is a good sign. We're going to attacks. Get our 3 points of damage in. Make sure we don't play this Dryad Arbor because it'll have Summoning Sickness. So play this Boseiju. Green, green, black. 2. Untap our creature. Go and find ourselves a Craterhoof. That should be good enough to buy us enough turns to make the ad nauseum no longer an option. They can win without using any artifacts with a bunch of rituals, but it's certainly a lot harder shutting off their Lion's Eye Diamonds, Petals, and Wishcore Talismans. Prismatic ending on our Nettle Sentinel. That's interesting. Guess we're going to go for a little redraw here. Not very exciting, unfortunately. We're just trying to get our opponent's life total low and end the game as quickly as we can here. If that had hit another elf, that would have been great. Alas, was not the case. We hit another land. We've drawn quite a lot of land so far. Prismatic ending on the Craterhoof. Okay. Hello, Petal. Is this enough to go off this turn or not? No. Okay. We are drawing a lot of land, aren't we? Play this out, which represents a Dryad Arbor. So we need to draw a green spell next turn to untap our Nettle Sentinel. Ad nauseam, no longer a line. A lot of colours over there. I guess we knew about the red for the Passing Flames already. Our opponent spent a while thinking about this turn. A Wishcore Talisman. Sure. Another Wishcore Talisman. Okay. Are they relying on us not drawing a green spell? Okay, it's Dryad Arbor because it attacks. Do we draw a green spell? We did draw a green spell. Sure. I think, considering the position they're in, it's a pretty reasonable line. So now we have a choice of whether or not we want this turn 0 Graveyard Hate on the draw, because we don't get the ability to Thoughtseize our opponent. This obviously can stop Passing Flames lines. I don't think the Endurances are any good, to be honest. They're just going to get Thoughtseized away, and I'm not really sure I want the ley lines either, because they can happily win without their graveyard. So I think we just resubmit and try and Thoughtseize into something good. Okay, so we can't keep this because we have no starting mana, because Cradle doesn't tap on its own. Mulligan. We don't have any mana again. All our lands are clearly in the previous game. So this is okay. We can keep this. We don't have any black mana for this. I don't think we need a second Symbiote. So our plan here is Dryad Arbor on turn 1, and then Craterhoof on turn 2. Preordain. So we need to draw a land ideally. It's not the ideal land for what we're trying to accomplish here, is it? I think we have to stick to the plan of drawing a land to play this Craterhoof on turn 2. Brainstorm. Okay. Maybe we can fade this turn. Now, we've seen that we have prismatic endings in our opponent's deck, so the Craterhoof isn't going to be enough on its own. It's maybe going to be a stopgap measure that buys us a few turns. But hopefully, we can win with those turns. Oh no, maybe they're just going here. Cracking the Flooded Strand for a Tundra. Okay, it's just more filtering for now. Playing out the Lotus Petal first is interesting, though. You want to ponder first and get the most amount of information. That's one less storm they've given themselves, but it means they might have some business here. Okay. That's Green Sun for 2. This is the plan that we kept our opening hand for. They have a Flusterstorm. Okay. But that's used 2 of their cards in order to counter our Green Sun Zenith. So that's not the worst, because they used a Petal for this as well. So now... So the other option we had was to play like a Shepherd and then try and do it next turn. But the only issue with that is that leaves us giving them a whole other free turn. I'm not sure that we could have done that and survived. Well, it might turn out that we can, but the fact that our opponent wasn't Thoughtseizing us and stuff made me think that they were pretty close to going off. Ponder. But maybe they're not. Maybe they're just pondering around and not getting anywhere. It's certainly possible. Glimpse would be pretty good for us to draw this turn. Now, we don't really have much in the way of mana dorks, but we can draw 3 cards, potentially, if we draw a Glimpse. If we draw a Natural Order, we can do something with that as well. Okay, we did not draw that. I guess we're just going to play out our things and attack our opponent. One of your finest damage, please, Dryad Arbor. The art of this forest and the art of this Dryad Arbor are pretty similar in colours and stuff. I don't really like this Dryad Arbor art because it looks too much like a regular forest. But it's not so bad on Magic Online because it always puts it in the right place. But in Paper Magic, it's very... Okay. Come on, opponent. What have you got for us? Feels like we've been at their mercy for a while. We haven't drawn the most exciting of things this game either. Like drawing a Visionary is something we can then cycle through with a Symbiote. Drawing a Cradle gives us +4 damage per swing, but that's probably not going to be enough. We need more Elves if we want the Allosaurus Shepherd pump to win. Prismatic ending on a Wirewood Symbiote, sure. Okay, our opponent's got a very reactive hand here. We probably could have just played out the Shepherd. Okay, let's go to attacks. Tap some guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we play this one out and we draw a land next turn, we can attack for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so a land gives us an attack for 10. A Natural Order gives us the win. Green Sun Zenith gives us all sorts of stuff. This is not a land. I guess we're just mediocre beats again. So we have a choice here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we just play this out because that gives us a 2-turn clock. We could keep it in case we draw something like a glimpse just to get an extra card. But we draw a land, we win the game. We draw a natural order, we win the game. We draw an elf. If we draw a visionary into a 1-drop elf, then we win the game. We've got a lot of draws that are pretty strong for us. But our opponent is sort of sat there sculpting the whole game, so I have to imagine they have something. I think they've approached this matchup entirely wrong, personally. It feels like they've tried to be the control in the matchup when what they really want to be is the aggressor. Okay, they're passing the turn. Do we draw a land? We did not draw a land. We drew the Elvish Visionary. So, Cradle, please, or another 1-drop elf. A 1-drop elf, excellent. Oh, wait, no, this isn't enough, is it now? Because we've got 3, 4, 5. We could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. So it's still not lethal here. 1, 2, 3. No, we just have to attack with all of our creatures here and then kill our opponent next turn. Yikes. This has not been a great game from anyone here. What is this polluted delta finding? A scrubland. It's just shuffling away their brainstorm. So they go to 4 here. Do they just have nothing? Or are they going to kill us on the last possible turn? They got to make a run for it if they have stuff. But they might just... Nope, they just didn't have anything. So what happened that game is our opponent... I think they sideboarded wrong. I think they boarded into way too much permission. Or they were digging into the permission more than they should have been. In terms of Flusterstorm and removal and stuff. And they're supposed to be the aggressor. So they got 6 cards in hand. So they've got to have something going on. But yeah, okay. I think we got lucky on that one. So let's go to round 2. We're on the play for round 2. We've got a weird looking hand here. I think we play the... do we keep? It feels slow. So this goes and gets us a Dryad Arbor on 1. Turn 2, we play an Elvish Visionary. Is a turn 2 Elvish Visionary really where I want to be? Means we can set up for a reasonably good turn 3, perhaps. I'm not an elf expert at all. I'm going to keep this and see it as a test. I think I've played elves maybe 3 times. If our opponent is a really quick combo deck, we're probably not beating him with a lot of our hands unless we get like the super good like god hand. But let's play out this Verdant Catacombs. This will represent like maybe Reanimator to our opponent, and we could be holding up for an Entomb, which might change the way our opponent plays this game. Okay, so now we'll crack this end of turn, go and get ourselves a little Dryad Arbor. Are they going to Source to Plowshares our Dryad Arbor? Or are they going to cast a Silence here? They're going to plow our little guy. It's just a little guy. Okay, that sets us back a turn, doesn't it? So we'll play out this forest and say go. Maybe we're not supposed to fetch it into his plow there. Doesn't seem like a plow's that scary as a thing. Now this is probably going to be a grindy one, so I don't think I mind that too much. A Wirewood Symbiote. So that's something for next turn, I think. Let's just try and get this guy down and get ourselves a little card out of it. Next turn we can deploy the Symbiote and the Visionary. Okay, Cradle is an excellent draw here. So we can deploy Symbiote. Well, you kind of want to draw another 1-drop, I guess. A Heritage Druid or a Birchlore Ranger. Birchlore Ranger would be really nice, actually. I think that's the one we want. Alright, they're just looking through some cards with their iteration into Brainstorm. This is the Brainstorm that was free off of the Expressive Iteration. So not that exciting, I think. I don't have an immediate fetch. What do we got for us, deck? Ooh, a really nice blank card. Sure. I think we'll lead out on Wirewood Symbiote and see what happens here. So we could try and draw... No, this isn't going to work. Try and draw more cards like that, is it? But like this gets us 1 card. I don't think we want to cycle our Glimpse. I think we just play out this Visionary. That's an interesting one. Sure, let's draw some more cards, I guess. Let's see if this resolves. So we'll tap 3 elves. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll untap this Heritage Druid and return our Elvish Visionary. And we'll cast this. We can play a Wirewood Symbiote. Seems fine here. And then I guess we're done. So next turn we can Natural Order for the win. If that doesn't resolve, we can do a whole bunch of other stuff. We can sort of like, we can just try and have a really good Glimpse. I think we should lead off with the Glimpse as a bait spell. And if they counter that, then they're less likely to counter our Natural Order. I'm glad they didn't just immediately play a Supreme Verdict or something. That would be pretty terrible for us. A Saga. Okay, so this might be like a Dreadnought deck. We're going to not use our Symbiotes just yet. So I would very much like to try and win the game here. What are we losing? Orim's Chant, I guess. Orim's Chant. That does buy them a turn. Maybe our opponent is more in the combo end of things somewhere. It feels like a control deck, but the Orim's Chant is an odd one. We hit our opponent for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have enough to attempt 2 natural orders, including an uncountable one because of the Allosaurus Shepherd. So we should be able to win as long as we don't have another Orim's Chant. Let's see. They're going to have some sort of main deck sweeper. I'm hoping this is just an expressive iteration. Sure, okay. Orim's Chant is a very, very strange main deck card here. Our opponent is up to no good. Maybe they're like Kitten combo. So they're holding up mana potentially for a Orim's Chant here. We got another one. We do have another one. One animal. I guess we go to attacks with all of our guys. Like, if they get a Grafdigger's Cage to shut off our natural orders, we can still win this game. I'm more worried that our opponent is a combo deck and they're playing Orim's Chants as defensive spells. But we'll see. Are they going to make any constructs here? No, they're just floating mana. That's scarier, to be honest. I'd rather they just make some constructs because we have that beat. Shuko. Okay, they're Jeskai Breakfast. I see. With Chance. Snapcaster. Okay. That Brainstorm they're getting back there? A Ponder. Okay. They shuffled their libraries. That's good for us. The last card you're going to play this turn, Breakfast, a Cephalid. Do they have another Orim's Chant? They do not. Okay. So we get to do our thing here. So we play this out. We tap this. And then, because of the life total our opponent's on, I think we will just make some mana out of these elves. So 1, 2, 3. And we will cast a natural order, sacrificing this Elvish Visionary. If they have a removal spell and a force, we then just get to go again, sacrificing something else, and we still win the game. Okay, so our opponent's shown us that they're Breakfast, which means you probably want these ley lines. Thoughtseize definitely have text here. If they're trying to Orim's Chant us, then I don't think we want removal spells. I think that's a bit of a trap. The Scavenging Ooze is okay. The Collectoroof can shut down Shuko, but can't stop Nomads, so I'm a bit iffy on that one. The Endurance has the same problem as these cards if our opponent's trying to chant us, and I don't think we want to overboard. So we definitely want these 7 cards. So we probably don't need the Altisaur. We might need a way of drawing some stuff. I don't think we need a Grist here. The Allosaurus Shepherd looks pretty tasty here. I think it gets harder now. Maybe Quirion Ranger we can trim on. Maybe don't need the Torsten. I really want this card to come into play and do stuff, but maybe we don't need that and we could just grind some elf value. Maybe because it's counterspell deck we're trimming on natural orders. And then we just got to find 2 more slots. I want the ability to grind with these things. I guess we only need 1 Elvish Visionary in play or the Leaf Crown Visionary. And then probably looking at trimming. Part of me wants to trim a Symbiote, which I know sounds crazy, but we want to keep as many elves in the deck. Alright, we'll try it like this. Again, don't take my sideboarding for gospel. Okay, so what does our hand do? We have a ley line that our opponent has to deal with. We know they have to ferry, so they're definitely going to have an answer for it, so it's not just going to be a lock. We have Green Sun Zenith, and we have Heritage Druid. Where are we going with this? I think we can keep this one. It's pretty medium, but we do have the 2 Cradle, the 2 Green Suns though. So quite like that as a thing to start on. We didn't see any black, so we're not going to get discarded. It's just a case of whether or not we can resolve these things. Another Green Sun, okay. In this case, we're definitely going to fire it off. They shouldn't have any way of disrupting our mana base here. So we're just going to try and accelerate out with a Green Sun that I'm expecting to hit a counterspell. It did not hit a counterspell. Okay, we might be getting our Dried Arbor killed then. Yeah, okay, sure. But we have many Green Sun Zeniths. A Wooded Foothills. We'll play this out. We'll play out our Heritage Druid. Our opponent seems to have missed a land drop there as well. So we play out our Heritage Druid this turn. We go and fetch a Dried Arbor in our opponent's end step, and then we can play our Cradle and it will tap for 3. So we can do a big Green Suns here. A Ponder, sure. A Polluted Delta. Go Dried Arbor. And crack your fetch and kill our guy. Orim's Chant us or some other nonsense. Okay, so we have a Cradle. So let's play a Cradle out. Then it's basically free to cast this guy, because the Cradle will still tap for mana. So this will tap for 3, and we have 4 mana here. So we can green suns for 3, which doesn't seem that useful. We just want to get more elves, so I think we're probably green sunning for Elvish Visionary here. So we go get the Elvish Visionary to get redraw here. A natural order. We can cast this natural order. How big is the damage going to be on it? Not. So we'll have to tap all of these, so the speed just be a 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll only attack them for 8. And we've got rid of the other cool thing from our deck. So maybe what we're doing here is tapping these elves so we can kill our opponent next turn. Tap these 3, cast this. So we can get another Visionary here, or we can get a Leaf Crown Visionary, which pumps all of our guys, so our Cradle's going to be lethal anyway, I suppose. Or we can get Wirewood Symbiote to protect, but then we don't have the kill next turn, so we kind of want it. Well, we do have the natural order though. If I were interesting choices here. Maybe it should be the Symbiote here. This can protect our Allosaurus Shepherd to guarantee our Craterhoof next turn. Tap for 1. This means if they have a removal spell, we can make sure our Allosaurus Shepherd doesn't die to it. Okay, so what we have to worry about here is some sort of sweeper. Okay, tapping their Brainstorm means it's slightly less likely. They could have that one that pings everything for 1, which would be real problematic. And Brainstorms. They're going to Brainstorm fetch. No, they're going to crack their fetch. Makes sense, they just Brainstorm, so they're going to crack their fetch. Okay, they do have black mana. Okay, they're going to Cabal Theriblast, naming natural order here. But we have them dead on board. So I'm not really sure what their plan is here. Nomads and Core. Okay. So this is, they block one of these, they take 5, 10, 11, 12. So are we supposed to bounce the Elvish Visionary to draw 2 cards this turn? If we don't have them dead anyway, I think that's what we're supposed to do. So we'll return this elf. Oh wait, hold on. No, we will untap this Dried Arbor and return this elf. Yes, we did it right around. Now our opponent's tapped out. Glimpse of Nature. Okay. This is a good one. Let's cast Glimpse. We have a backup Cradle as well. So I like the spot we're in here. So let's draw some cards with this. And we will tap 3 elves here to make triple green, I think. 1, 2. Actually, do we want to do that, or do we just want to untap our... But we're bouncing the Elvish Visionaries. That's kind of like a free mana that way. So I think we do this. And then we untap our Heritage Druid, bouncing our elf. And we play our elf. Need to find something here. Just another forest. We don't have a way of making black mana here, which is pretty annoying. Got 3 mana here. Oh wait, no, we do have a way of making black mana because we have a Windswept Heath, right? So we can crack this. Go and get Bayou. Thoughtseize our opponent. Cephalid Illusionist. Get out of here, ye. Why did they not Force of Will that? A mystery. Our opponent was probably just F6 there. I will happily trade this Dried Arbor for a Nomads and Core. I guess they kind of didn't... They needed their Teferi to bounce the ley line. So they can't mill themselves without the Teferi. So they couldn't pitch their force. It's an awkward situation for them, for sure. This is definitely going to bounce the ley line. Let's return... sorry, let's untap this by returning this. Because we don't have lethal through what they've got now. They do know we have this other Cradle. Let's see what we draw. Another Thoughtseize. Interesting. It's probably the only black mana we're going to get. So I think we tap a Dried Arbor and this for the Visionary here. A Heritage Druid. Alright, I think we can replay this. No, we don't have the Quirion Ranger, do we? We could have replayed this ley line, actually. That could come back to bite us. So we can attack with all these 3. They have to block one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can play out our forest. We can play out our Heritage Druid. We can bounce our Elvish Visionary. So we will untap this creature, bouncing our Visionary. This gives us some mana to try and draw something good with. Another Visionary, I'll take that. A Leaf Crown Visionary. That's pretty good here. This pumps our little elfies. And we can go to attacks. So this will attack our opponent. If we attack this one, they can double block and trade. And I don't want that because we have lethal with it. So I think it's just going to be the 2-2 here. Because if they want to double block this, that's fine. Thoughtseize our opponent this turn. We know they got a Force of Will. What's the other card? A Ponder. We will take the Ponder and lead them with Force of Will. And hopefully I won't regret not playing this ley line, which we could have done. Now, the problem is we knew they had a Force of Will, so if we played the ley line, they could just Force of Will us. We didn't know they had a blue card, so... Okay, it worked out alright. So we kind of played around them having Force of Will blue card by not playing the ley line. I figured the Thoughtseize doesn't really play into that, because if they discard the blue card in their hand, then they won't have it. So I think that was the correct play on reflection. But yeah, seemed alright. We just did some elf things. Let's go to round 3. This is our opening hand. We're on the draw. So if we get another land, we can kind of do some stuff here. So I think we can keep this. Opponents crack their Wooded Foothills for a tiger. Which could be looking at lands. Birds of Paradise. Interesting. We're going to get ourselves a basic forest, just in case we have any sort of wastelandy type stuff here. I think we're playing out probably the Allosaurus Shepherd, I think. Okay, a little knight. That's fine. This can go get a Tabernacle next turn, which might prove troublesome, to say the least. We're also going to get a wasteland with it. We didn't hit a land, which is a real pain. We have a choice as to what elf would play out here. We could play out the Wirewood Symbiote, but I think we need to get an elf down for next turn. I don't want to go and get a Dried Arbor because they're showing a wasteland right now, so we could waste our turn getting a Dried Arbor just for them to mash it. Tabernacle will be pretty disastrous for us, but hopefully they won't run Tabernacle because some of these Nideps decks don't have access to it because they're pretty creature heavy themselves. They're attacking with their big lad. They are. That's good news for us. Or terrible news for us, I guess. They don't need any other lands because their hand's already got what they need. That's pretty bad. But if they don't have anything better to do than attack, that might be good. So it depends why they attacked, really. If they just play another knight here, that's probably the best case scenario for us. 4 mana. Okay, this is a 4 mana knight, maybe? Ramnap Excavator. Okay, that's fine. So if we draw a land this turn, I think we're set. We drew a land. So how is the best way to maximize the mana here? I think it's play this, play Heritage Druid, tap these 3 for mana, cast this Glimpse, cast probably the Wirewood Symbiote here. I guess we play out our Cradle now. And we're casting this Visionary. Just trying to think there might have been a better way to do that. Okay, so we draw a card from the Visionary as well. We cast this Allosaurus Shepherd. We will make some mana. We'll cast this Nettle Sentinel. So we're going to be netting a load of mana now. So we can cast this Allosaurus Shepherd. We can tap for 3. 1, 2, 3. Cast this Glimpse. Cast this Wirewood Symbiote. We cast our Elvish... no, we cast our Nettle Sentinel here. Because this gives us basically infinite mana. So we can tap these 3. Because we tap these 3 and they all untap every time we cast a spell here. Okay, our opponent's just scooping because they've seen that we've assembled all this. We're just going to do this. We're going to just going to make a bunch of mana and then Green Suns for Craterhoof and kill them. Alright, sideboarding against Naya Depths. Not actually the easiest one to puzzle through, but I think these snuff outs are probably going to be useful because we get to kill the knights and they spend 3 mana on it. We can spend 0 and kill a knight. I'm trying to think what sort of targets they might have to mess with us. Didn't see any black mana, so I don't really have to worry about some things there. I think the Altisaur is going to be nice here. They're not a counterspell deck, so we don't have to worry about our natural orders getting countered. We can bring in Graveyard Hate to mess with their lands and stuff, but that's such a slow process for them. I think we're just better off. It's probably the Allosaurus Shepherd here because we don't really care about being uncounterable. They are elves though. Now there is a downside to playing Snuff Out in our deck, is that we have to go and get Bayou, which can be wastelanded. So I'm not even that happy about those, but we'll give this a run. But let it know that at least I thought about that as a problem, right? Hand is good. Hand is good. If they have a Tabernacle on the sideboard, it's definitely in their main deck now, that's for sure. No Reclaim or anything on turn 1. They might just be holding up for a Plough, which is fine. So what do we want to do here? We can Green Suns, but I think we're better off just playing out one of our little elves that's relatively expendable because we've got 2 of them. Do they have an end of turn Source to Plowshares? Or are they getting themselves a Dried Arbor? No, they're just cracking end of turn for some reason. Green Sun for 1. This is probably going to be Elvish Reclaimer, I would imagine. Birds of Paradise. Okay. Wooded Foothills. I think we can Green Suns here for a... What is the best option here? Because we've got the other one already, I'm just going to get another forest just to stay clear of wastelands. So I think we can Green Sun Zenith here for either a Wirewood Symbiote or a Nettle Sentinel. I think the Nettle Sentinel is probably where I want to be here. Reason being, this combination of creatures means that we can make some mana and then untap this, so we need less creatures for when we cast our natural order. I'm not expecting counter spells from our opponent, so next turn we should be able to natural order for lethal. Play Heritage Druid, tap these three, untap this. Maybe not quite lethal yet. We'll see how we get on. Maybe we can get an Altisaur if they play like something cool. The Urza Saga might be getting a Grafdigger's Cage. Okay, this is just for a Dryad Arbor. Interesting. And a Sylvan Library. Okay. So we'd like to try and win the game this turn before they get something like a Grafdigger's Cage. So, what is the best way of doing that here? It's going to involve a Cradle for sure. I think it's probably cast this. I think we have to make some mana here, don't we? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to play this one out. We have to play out the Cradle here. Tap this for a bunch of mana. Cast Natural Order. Sacrificing this Heritage Druid. We could just blow up their mana dorks as well this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll be getting 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's not quite lethal if I get that. The other option is to just get the guy that draws us 7 cards. So it's either the Craterhoof that draws 7 cards or the Altisaur. So we can blow up 2 of their creatures and be left with a 10-10. We can put them to 2, which shuts off their Sylvan Library from drawing extra cards with it at least. I think the correct play is probably getting the Craterhoof here and just doming them for a load. We should probably get one of our fun ofs, yeah? Because that's what we're trying to achieve here. Go on then, let's try this guy out and draw a bunch of cards. Okay, we can play out a Wirewood Symbiote. Is this creature an elf? He is a human. Okay. We could play out another Nettle Sentinel. And then we have our opponent dead next turn. Through a multitude of ways, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our Cradle taps for 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can make the Altisaur next turn. That's still probably not enough to then swing for lethal, is it? Interesting. I could have nipped him for 2 damage with the Sentinel as well. Pithing Needle. Naming Wirewood Symbiote, I would assume. We could have bounced the Visionary response, but we want to have as many guys in play as possible for our Cradle, really. Fury. It's a pretty good one. So we're probably going to lose 3 elves here. 3 elves and a Wirewood Symbiote. Okay. Maybe we should have got the Altisaur. Maybe that was actually the correct one instead of the fun of one. Sure, so those will go away. And they have a wasteland for the Cradle. Yeah? We might get punished for not getting the Altisaur. We wanted to get the fun of there. We did mention that that's what we were trying to do there. So, what is the plan here? I think it's Elvish Visionary first. Let's try and draw some cards. Quirion Ranger. That's actually a pretty interesting one. So we can go and do this, or we can go and get a Dryad Arbor. How useful is a Dryad Arbor going to be? I don't think it's going to be very useful. Get this Bayou out and play this Ranger. We're going to attacks with our 7/7. We can bounce our Bayou and protect and block with our 7/7, so it's got pseudo vigilance here. So if we draw another Cradle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're not quite at the Apex Altisaur hard cast here. Oh no, we can untap and think, can't we? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we don't have a creature that actually taps for mana there, do we? A Glimpse of Nature, you say? I'm not going to cast this, right? So you go green, Glimpse. Play out this 1-drop first. Another Glimpse. Not that exciting at the end of the day. Play this out. Crack this. Go and get ourselves a forest so we can cast this Leaf Cloud Visionary. And we'll go to attacks. They can trade 2 of their guys for my lad, but an endurance. Okay. They can trade these 2 for it if they want. I'm going to shuffle my elves in natural order into my deck. Interesting choice. Is this a chump block from something? Put the Dryad Arbor in front of it as well? Yes. Okay. So this will trade with these 2 creatures. And we get a whole bunch of guys. I'm not sure if they were familiar with that piece of text on the card. Crop rotation for Tabernacle was pretty good here, but this gives us lethal damage right now. Tabernacle will strip out a bunch of our guys. Again, I don't know if they have Tabernacle. They're like a Birds of Paradise deck, so it's a lot less likely. There's a Wasteland. Okay, so not Tabernacle unless they have a crop rotation. They can't Wasteland our Bayou because we can bounce it with the Ranger. Okay, we have the concession there. So this little guy was probably the wrong thing to get. We should have got the Dinosaur, blow up their mana, and then just have a big 10-10 on board, and then they can't cast like a big spell like they did, like the Fury, so he probably would have been alright. And even if they did, we had a 10-10. But this guy drew us a bunch of cards, and when he died, he made us a bunch of lads. Now, if they'd have ploughed him, that would have felt real bad. But we wanted to play this guy because he's the fun thing that we're doing in the deck. So, seemed alright, and that's how you test things out. So we are 3-0 pretty quick. Let's go on to round 4. We're on the draw. Our hand looks pretty nice. We can make our guys uncounterable. We've got Green Sun to try and do some Elvish Visionary loops if we need to. We've got the mana engine. This seems pretty nice. Now, there's lots of ways that we can lose this game, obviously. There's lots of things that will be good against our particular hand. But you play the hand you're dealt, right? So, let's go and get... Oh, we're getting stifled. Sure, we got stifled. That's fine, I guess. Okay, so it's the Phyrexian... Oh no, this could just be straight up Rug Delver, actually. Yeah, this is like straight up Rug Delver. Okay, so I think we can race 2 Delvers with our hand here. So this time we can crack without worrying about Stifle. Get a basic Forest. Play... This is an interesting choice because it might get bolted. Let's play the Shepherd out. This one can't be dazed this turn. And it means that we can deploy a load of stuff next turn. So if they have a bolt, then it's going to be hard. But if they don't, then we can do alright. So there's a 3-turn clock that our opponent's presenting. Dismember. Okay. Very aggressive removal spell. They did not flip their little guys. Okay. So what are we doing here? I think it's Bayou. We go Wirewood Symbiote. And then Quirion Ranger. So these can protect each other. Sorry, this can protect the Wasteland and this can protect the Ranger. So we kind of got a decent chance. This is still a 3-turn clock. So the fact they didn't flip. Okay, they got Brainstorm, which is a pretty good one to flip it to. Gives them a lot of options. But yeah, so we can dodge a Wasteland with our Ranger. Now, we still won't have the land in play, but we won't lose it permanently. So if we need an untapped mana source, we'll have one. So they come in for 6. Getting a little bit tight. Got a follow-up threat. Or some more removal. There's a lot of things our opponent can have here. A Wasteland, sure. A Nettle Sentinel. Alright. Cast a Nettle Sentinel. Let's cast a Heritage Druid. Hoping this one resolves, really. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's play a Nettle Sentinel. Return a forest to untap a creature. So we can untap a Heritage Druid and pick up this Bayou. And then we can tap these guys. We can play around a daze here quite easily. We're going to go get a Visionary and we can cast it twice with the Symbiote. We're going to have mana floating here. So return an elf. Sure, we're going to untap our Quirion Ranger and return our Heritage Druid. And we go and get ourselves... We could get a Leaf Crown Visionary here, actually. Let's do that. So we play this one out. Could have got more mana here, actually, couldn't we? Right, so let's tap some elves. Play this guy. And we'll draw a card here. So some stuff happened there, for sure. We can't keep going here, unfortunately. We can attack, though, for 2 almighty points of damage. So we're actually doing alright in this race. Our opponent's only got 1 card in hand. I think we'll play out this Dryad Arbor. Do you want to play the Dryad Arbor or do you want to play out the Bayou? Let's play out the Dryad Arbor. See if we can get a Wasteland off of it. Yeah, okay, so we got the Wasteland. I suspected that would be the case. The Bayou is an untapped source for next turn in case we need to change some stuff with a Glimpse. So they hit us for 6 this turn. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if they attack with everything, they die. If they attack with 1 guy, then they have to attack with more than what they have now on the next turn to win. So I think our opponent is in trouble. Alright. Let's make some mana. Cast a Glimpse. Cast this Wirewood Symbiote. Let's tap some creatures. So we want 1, 2, 3. Let's return an elf. So we will return... So we'll untap our Heritage Druid by bouncing our Birchlore Rangers. And then we will cast our Birchlore Rangers. Untap our Nettle Sentinels. Draw a card from our Glimpse and draw a card from our Leaf Crowned Elder. We still have a land drop, which is going to be a Cradle. So then we're going to tap our 2 Nettle Sentinels, because they're going to untap in a second. So we'll play a 3rd Nettle Sentinel, drawing a card off of the Glimpse. It's a good one. And we'll draw a card off of this guy. This guy will come into play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we just play out our Cradle and tap it for 8, we can play around days as well. So let's cast this. We do get a draw off the Glimpse as well, just in case this doesn't resolve. They're going to stifle the trigger. Sure. That guy still has haste. So we're going to go tap 3 untap creatures. Cast this. So we're just going to untap all of our guys. So because we've got 3 of these guys in play now, everything we play is basically free. So tap these guys. Cast this. We don't really need to keep going here, do we? So let's just go 1, 2. They could have another stifle actually, couldn't they? Is the one thing that we kind of have to play around a little bit here. So we'll cast this. Make some mana again. 1, 2, 3. Cast this Heritage Druid. So draw some cards. Okay, they're scooping because we're going to have it here. Even if they have a stifle, we're going to be able to play around it because we're going to generate enough mana that we can activate Allosaurus Shepherd twice. That's what we're trying to do right there, which we have that turn. I think we just do that and then play that guy and then we're good. So Delver. What am I supposed to be boarding in against Delver? That is an interesting one. So the endurances are pretty good against what they're laying down. If the games go long and grindy. Snuff Out is pretty useful at killing some of their guys, but it does require us to invest in the Bayou, which can be wastelanded. We could bring in Dismembers. I don't really like Leyline, sorry. I don't really like Dismember here because it's a bit wonky, I would say. The other thing we can think about is if we need to worry about Cage. But they have 1, I don't think it's worth trying to play around it. So, if we're trying to board in these 4, I think we're getting rid of a natural order at least, because that's not really one we want to have counter spelled. And then Quirion Ranger is actually pretty good here because it protects us against Wasteland slightly. It's tough to work out what the cuts are here, to be honest, as a very novice player. Maybe we're boarding out all of our natural orders and just playing the grindier plan, which makes the Torsten less good. But I guess we can Green Suns for him still. And we can cast off a Birchlore Ranger. So maybe it's okay to have a Torsten. Maybe the Apex Altisaur isn't something we need. This is kind of an emergency button. If we can't win though, we can then kill their guy. But what are the situations where we have 10 mana and we're not winning the game with a Green Sun Zenith? That is a good question. What does that game look like? I don't really know. We've got these Snuff Outs instead of the Altisaur, so maybe we're looking at this. Alright, we'll try it like this. Maybe we want the Scavenging Ooze instead of the other one. That's what we got here. A forest into some guys. We can play around counter spells. We've got some card draw. This seems fine. We know our opponent isn't a combo deck, so it's not as if we have to keep something that wins in the first couple of turns. In the first 3 turns, well. Okay, so they've got a Delver. Pretty good start for them. But they don't have mana for a Stifle, so this is the turn we definitely use our Wooded Foothills. So we'll sacrifice this. We'll get a basic forest. And we'll play this because it goes around days. We've got a spare one. It's just best case scenario for us here. So next turn we play the Birchlores. And then we can play the Allosaurus Shepherd. Then we can play the Cradle and the Visionary. Now if our opponent has Rough Tumble, we lose the game. Do we have a chance to play around that? Is the question. I don't think we do. Ponder from our opponent. Because they do have a clock in play, which we have to respect. Okay, they have a Wasteland. So we get 1 hit off of the Cradle when the time comes. Understood. We have a second Cradle. So if they Wasteland us, it means they're not going to be able to Rough and Tumble next turn. So we go Birchlore Rangers, cast. Then we will tap 2 Elves to make a green mana. Cast this Allosaurus Shepherd. We'll play this Cradle. We'll play this Elvish Visionary. We kind of want our opponent to Wasteland now, so they can't Rough Tumble. Snuff Out. This is not a thing we can do anything with. We have this 1 mana. So we make 1 black mana this turn, but that's not really going to get us anywhere. I think we have to say go here. Them not using that Wasteland is a little bit scary. You get Rough Tumbled. Okay. Maybe they have that horrible one that's 1 mana and pings all your guys. Because that would be pretty bad for us too. Brainstorm. So we have 4 mana, 5 mana here. So if we could draw a 1 mana elf we can kill our opponent this turn. Otherwise, we only hit our opponent for 10. We probably don't even do that. We probably just hold it up to play around Rough Tumble. They could have a Stifle for our Allosaurus Shepherd here. A Green Sun Zenith, you say? That's an interesting prospect. Get a Wirewood Symbiote and do some loops here. Or we could just attack for some damages. Or we could get an Endurance, so that we don't have to worry about Murktide. That's for 4. So we could just get an Endurance to dodge Murktide. But then if we don't get another Cradle, it's going to be hard for us to... This is tough. I think we're going to get the Endurance here. It's an uncounterable Endurance. Unless they bolt our Allosaurus Shepherds, somehow killing them both. We could also get Grist. But I think we just want the Endurance here. Because this stops our opponent from having a Murktide next turn. It means our Cradle is lethal next turn. We have a threat that survives Rough and Tumble. That also is better than the threat they have in play. I think the upside on this is enough that it's worth playing. Okay, we lose our Cradle. So we don't get to kill them this turn. They got that horrible ping. One of our Allosaurus Shepherds. Sure. We've got another one. So they might be able to bolt and then do something in response. So if they don't attack here, we get to snuff them out and just come in for a bunch. Which is what I think we're going to do here. This can be counterspelled, unfortunately. But the upside is so high. This can open us up to double bolt Delver. Okay, days, sure. I don't think we attack here, unfortunately. I think we have to hold back. So we've got 1, 2, yeah, we just need to draw a Cradle, ideally. We've got the Delver checked. Okay, we're losing both of our Allosaurus Shepherds now. But we don't have something like a Natural Order in our deck anymore because of all these counterspells we're expecting our opponents to have, but they might have boarded out some more of their counterspells, especially Dazes. Don't feel great against us. Okay, what are we going to draw? A big uncastable guy. Interesting. Right, so we'll play out this, and I guess... So if this was the Scavenging Ooze that I thought about afterwards, then that would be pretty good. So we have 1 mana, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So we need 2 more mana to play our Torsten. If we have a Heritage Druid, that doesn't really make much of a difference. Gives us 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess a Heritage Druid, then 1 draw step. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we play out the Windswept Heath here, but we don't crack it for a Dryad Arbor unless our opponent gives us an opportunity where they're not going to have Stifle up. Or we can use it to bait a Stifle out. Is it worth getting a Dryad Arbor now? I really don't want to draw a Dryad Arbor here. So let's get a Dryad Arbor. Go on, Stifle us. We'd much rather stifle this than any of our big triggers. Okay, so we get the Dryad Arbor. Now this could be Lightning Bolt, but I don't know why this would be the thing you would Lightning Bolt on the board. It does make someone like End the Festivities scarier against us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So next turn we can try and cast Torsten. Now our opponent hasn't cast anything, so I have to imagine they have counter spells in hand. So maybe we wait and at least try and play around a Daze. Playing some draw game magic here. A Cradle. Okay, we play around the Daze. Let's tap this. Tap 2 elves for white mana here. So these 2. 5, 6, 7. Let's try this guy. I suspect they have a counter spell, but it has to be force. They're probably just reading this card and then they're going to force it. Okay, so the text on this is probably game ending if it lands. Oh, wowzers. Oh, they got a Stifle? They got a Stifle. But we now have a 7/7. So that's a thing. Now they could Brazen Borrow it, but then we get to recast it. There's a wasteland. So we lose our Cradle, so we can't recast it if they borrow it. That's 3 Cradles down. It's probably a little bit annoying for our opponent that we've had 3 Cradles, to be honest. Okay, so we go to attacks. So I think we can attack with just this guy for now. And then next turn we can attack with everything and force the block on the Torsten. Play our land out, because lands are useful for us. And the Festivities isn't that scary against us anymore. Now I'm curious why our opponent... Like, their hand must just be a bunch of Stifles, really. Yeah, they kind of just didn't do anything. Yeah, not really sure what they're up to there. Interesting. Oh well, we are 4-0, so we're going into a trophy match. Pretty cool. Let's see if we can get it. On the play for the final round, which is a good place to be. Our hand is kind of ugly. If we get wastelanded here, we're in pretty bad shape. But if we don't, we're in pretty great shape. So I think we'll take the high ceiling rather than the low floor in this one. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. We will play a Dryad Arbor. Maybe they'll just think it's a forest and leave it alone. Okay. A lightning bolt. Okay. So we're back against Delver again. Please draw a land. Okay, we drew a land. So we will play out our Allosaurus Shepherd here. Wasteland is pretty good against us here, but it doesn't hit the Cradle if they hit the Bayou. So we can at least carry on playing Magic for a few more turns. Okay. What is the play here? I think the play here is Nettle Sentinel. Or no, it might be just a Symbiote actually. Because this can protect our Allosaurus Shepherd once it's in play. Which is the thing that's going to let us force through a natural order or something in this game 1. Okay, so they're going to bolt the Shepherd and probably daze the Symbiote. Let's play out the Nettle Sentinel. So they're force of willing Nettle Sentinel, but they let the Symbiote ride. Interesting. So our opponents kind of spent all their resources here. So I imagine this is the turn they cast Expressive Iteration and gas up again. Note they played a land first. Just a Delver. Okay, 1 card in hand. I think we're in a good spot. No, it wasn't a glimpse. That would have been real nice. We seem to be in our draw step. Interesting. We get in our little guy bolted. Petty theft. Okay. Whatever, really, isn't it? So they got no cards in hand, so we'll just play this guy out again. We'll play this Heritage Druid out. Play out our Cradle. Tap it for some mana. We'll play an Elvish Visionary. And we'll pass. So we're still on 20 life. Our opponent's got no cards in hand. And we get to see the top card of the library if it's good. Okay, so it's either a creature or a land, I think. Could be a bauble. Another Cradle. So what do we want to do here? We can go and get a Leaf Crown Visionary. Let's do that. This means that we can attack our Heritage Druid through. That's the thing we end up wanting to do. Alright, so where is Leaf Crown Visionary? There it is. Okay, so now we can go 1, 2, 3. We can return an elf to untap. So we can untap our Heritage Druid by returning our Visionary. Then we can play our Visionary and draw an additional card. Let's play this. Let's see what we get. A Heritage Druid, you say? I don't know if I want to play out this second Cradle this turn. I think we just start out with this Heritage Druid drawing a card, and then we'll see if we want to play the Cradle out. We'll see what we draw here. Okay, I think we're just going to do a big Cradle turn here. Petty theft on the Heritage Druid. Okay, that's A-okay. We'll play our second Cradle here. We've already used this turn. So we'll play out this Nettle Sentinel. Drawing a card. Make some mana. 1, 2, 3. Then we will play out another 1-drop here. Drawing a card. Make an elf. And then we will play out this other Nettle Sentinel. Maybe we should play that. Well, we just drew that one actually, didn't we? We couldn't have played that one. Alright. So then we can tap some elves. 1, 2, 3. We can make an Allosaurus Shepherd. We're generating a bunch of mana every time we do this as well at the moment. Or we're generating 1 mana and a card. Okay. So then we will some more guys. We will play this Quirion Ranger. Tap some more mana. Cast this little Visionary. This game is very much in the bag. This natural order doesn't actually do the thing we need it to do here, which is interesting. 1, 2, 3. 3 mana. What we're going to do here, we can Green Suns for another Symbiote. No, we need an elf really, don't we? Let's go for another Visionary. Untap, do some mana here. Then we can untap. We can bounce a forest to untap a guy. Is that going to actually affect anything here? Not really. We can put a natural order on the stack and see if our opponent concedes. I don't hate that as a plan. Okay, they did not concede there. So we have to keep playing. Let's get a dinosaur. And they're going to concede there. We got the dinosaur because we had the Craterhoof in hand. Alright, sideboarding. So, against Delver before, we wanted these 2 endurances. We also mentioned that Scavenging Ooze is going to be better than Torsten, although we did resolve a Torsten and it was real good. We also wanted these Snuff Outs. So last time we got rid of the Altisaur because it's very expensive what we're doing, and we got rid of some natural orders. This got us things. Do we want this Scavenging Ooze instead of Torsten? I think so. And let's submit. 1 game away from the trophy. Let's see if we can do it. Yeah, this is okay. Shepherd into Visionary Wirewood Symbiote chains with an endurance to keep Murktide at bay. And it might be an uncounterable endurance based on how long our Allosaurus Shepherd lives. I think we do lead out on the Allosaurus Shepherd so they can't daze it. So they're forced to spend mana on their turn if they want to answer it. Our opponent's begun the game on 6 cards. A bauble. Okay. One of your cards was a mystery card. A volcanic island and no play. So this Allosaurus Shepherd is going right into a lightning bolt, I think. But I still think it's the correct one to play out here. It's annoying that they have that red mana open. Oh wow, they don't have a lightning bolt in hand. Oh, this is real bad news for them. Now they might have the thing that pings away all of our little guys, which would make me quite sad. Dragon's Race Channeler. Okay. And now a lightning bolt. Okay. They must have drawn that. Or they really wanted to surveil is the only other thing I can think of. Over to us. They can cast Daze, whatever we do here. It's better to get 2 creatures out or 1 creature. I think we just play out the Visionary and gain a card. They can Daze this, but it's not a very exciting one to Daze, I don't think. A Nettle Sentinel. Okay, so next turn we can spam load of stuff. Expressive Iteration is a strong one. Gonna make us fight for this. Put Daze into the graveyard. So end Wasteland. Okay, that's not so bad for us. Take 3 from the little Dragon Man. Okay, so now we got some stuff going on here. I think we're just going to play this out and get ourselves a forest here. I think step 1 is Nettle Sentinel. Now having a think about this one. Step 2 is Heritage Druid. We can tap these, that'd be good. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. Okay, understood. They put Wasteland into the graveyard, sure. And then we can play out this Wirewood Symbiote. And then we can tap for 1 damage. Alright, so our opponent's only got 2 cards in hand. They got Wasteland that doesn't do anything in play right now. A Ponder. Pretty good card selection. Means they have to have land and Murktide to make the Murktide here. The Murktide is a little scary. I'm kind of hoping we can get this endurance down before their Murktide. If we can resolve this endurance, I think we win the game. So I guess Allosaurus Shepherd. No, we don't really want to draw that because we need to have mana to cast our endurance. So play a fetch and crack it. Maybe we're supposed to... Oh, what is this? A Braid. Targeting our Wirewood Symbiote. I will return this Elvish Visionary to my hand. We have many Elvish Visionaries in our hand. So we're going to take 3 here. Do I think our opponent has another Force of Will? That is a real question. Allosaurus Shepherd. So we could try and fade 1 draw step of our opponent not Murktiding us. Or we could try and cast the Endurance now. Or we could just pitch cast the Endurance. That's probably alright. Oh yeah, we're probably supposed to attack first here, aren't we? I doubt we're getting more damage out here. I think we just go to attacks first. Let's cast this uncounterably. See if we can get like a bad, not necessarily a bad green card, because there shouldn't really be any of those in our deck right now, but something worse than an Elvish Visionary to pitch. So we have this land. I think we will just evoke this now to avoid getting got by anything. So this shrinks their Dragon's Race Channeler, stops them deploying Murktide. Now, something like End the Festivities is going to kill 2 of our creatures. A Brainstorm, sure. Now they can refill their graveyard relatively quick here. We've got a redraw, so drawing 2 cards next turn. If we find a Cradle, we can bash for lots of damage. Potentially lethal damage. Because of the Wasteland, the Wood of Foothills doesn't feel like something we necessarily want to be cracking for a Dryad Arbor. If they use the Wasteland for mana for some reason, like casting another Abrade, then we can pop our Wood of Foothills. How have they Brainstorm locked themselves here? A Fury. This is a good one. It's Pitchcaster. What do they pitch to it? A Lightning Bolt. Sure. Do they have a Stifle? No. Okay. We're going to leave this in case we want to buy you for a Snuff Out. Let's try and cast this. They can't Daze it because we can pay. Now they could Daze this. But if they Daze this one, they won't Daze the next one, which is going to be another Endurance. So this gets us the Wirewood Symbiote here. So we've reassembled our draw engine. And then next turn we can go and Green Suns our way for an Endurance. A Ponder. Sure. So this is probably going to shuffle... Well, actually, no, they can use the Surveil effect of the Dragon's Race Channel to get through the cards that were on top from the Brainstorm. So, yeah. So they're looking at 3 fresh ones because they Surveilled here. We're just trying to fade Murktide this turn. If we can fade the Murktide and Green Sun Zenith for an Endurance, I think we're okay. A Bauble, okay. putting an island into their graveyard. Cracking the bauble. So they can't Murktide us this turn. There's a non-zero chance that they can Force of Will our spell though. But they are drawing to a Glimpse of Nature. I don't think we want that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you have a Daze? You do not have a Daze. Okay, so we're going to get the next Endurance. Alternatively, we can get the Grist, but I think the Endurance is the best thing we can get here. It shuts off the thing I'm most scared about. And then next turn, we get to cast a Glimpse and replay our Visionary, because we're going to bounce the Visionary in our opponent's turn. Alright, that's a pretty good one off the top. They left the card on top. Not a big fan of that. Misty Rainforest. Okay. Oh, I pressed the wrong button there. That's exciting. Okay, so return this elf. Oh wait, hold on. And we go to attacks first, don't we? And then we untap our endurance. So we'll untap this by returning this. And then we will cast a glimpse, I guess. We'll cast this Elvish Visionary around a Daze. Okay. Force of Will pitching Murktide Regent. Wowzers. Okay. I guess they are stopping us having that combo set up. Let's cast this and draw another card off a glimpse. Snuff Out we can't yet cast. Okay. So we can cast a Snuff Out potentially if we can find some black mana, which could be a Birchlore or it could be a Bayou. Sure. Well, we could have returned our forest, couldn't we, with our Quirion Ranger. We didn't have to let our Dried Arbor die there. That was a mistake. Alright, have they finally found a way of putting a Murktide into play? Feels like they have. Okay, so Birchlore Rangers or a Fetch Land would be good here. Another Snuff Out. Okay. This isn't great for us. A counterbalance. Okay. We get to ignore that if we have an Allosaurus Shepherd. I think we have to take this hit. If they have a Lightning Bolt, we die. We're probably not being a Lightning Bolt from this position anyway. A Heritage Druid. It's not really the one, is it? Let's attack with this guy. Let's untap this by returning our Ranger. Let's see what's on top of their library. Wasteland. Okay. I think that means we're probably supposed to play out this Heritage Druid now because we know it's going to resolve. So we have to chum block with our Endurance this turn. Fortunately, it's not a thing I can bounce with any of my shenanigans. There's that Wasteland we knew about. So Birchlore Rangers, Green Sun Zenith, Bayou, Nettle Sentinel. That doesn't do it, does it? Alright, go to game 3. Oh. Yeah, we saw the tension because we didn't fetch a Bayou earlier on in the round because we didn't want that sort of thing to happen to us. And it happened to us. So it's kind of an awkward one there about the Snuff Outs. But I think I like my sideboarding enough that I'm going to keep. And let's see if we can win that trophy. Last game for all the marbles. Okay, this hand is pretty nice. We'll keep this one. Opponent's mulligan to 6 cards. Opponent's mulligan to 5 cards. We're going to hang our Wirewood Symbiote out on turn 1. Because we've got a backup. Now, we could have played Birchlore so that we'd be able to have 2 Elves more easily next turn. But our opponent was on a mull to 5. Oh wow, they didn't have a land. Alright, that's pretty good news for us. Let's crack this for Forest. Go to attacks. Play a Visionary. No Force of Will this. You can't daze it because you've got no lands. Alright. Pretty nice. Should be able to have a pretty good glimpse turn next turn. Okay, a Wasteland. Not a very exciting one from our opponent, so you don't have to worry about days. A land. Okay, I would very much like to play this land. Is that the right call here? I think we cast Glimpse of Nature and see if it resolves first. This is the Force of Will target if they have one. Force of Will, pitching Brazen Borrower. Sure. Understood. So we'll crack this for a Forest. We will play a Birchlore Rangers. Make some green mana here. We'll play a Nettle Sentinel. We will untap this Birchlore Rangers by returning this Elvish Visionary. Then we will make some green mana like this. 1, 2. We will cast a Birchlore Rangers. We just have another guy in play. Do we even want another guy in play? I don't know if we do, judging by our opponent's board. They might have kept something that's like really, really good against what we're doing. Okay, so then we can play this Wirewood Symbiote. We can untap our Birchlore Rangers by... Wait, what does that achieve? That doesn't actually achieve anything, does it? No, we just go to attacks and tap for 1. We can draw some cards next turn. I have a feeling they kept something like End the Festivities or a Fury. Let's see where they put the targets. I assume the 2 Wirewood Symbiotes are going. What are they exile? A Dragon's Age Channeler. Okay, so return an elf. I would like to return... No, we'll untap this and by returning this elf. And then we will untap this by returning this elf. Okay, so we get attacks. And I suppose we play out this Elvish Visionary. Let's get into our deck a little more. A Green Sun Zenith. Interesting. There's Birchlore Rangers. And we can make some mana here. We can play a Bayou or we can play a Cradle. I'm thinking about this Birchlore Rangers. Let's make green mana here. 1, 2. So we can play a Bayou or we can play this Cradle. We know they've got a Wasteland. I think I'm going to play the Bayou here. And then we're going to Green Suns for 1 to get the Wirewood Symbiote again. This just gives us the most amount of ways of drawing cards. So we could have gone through a loop using the Cradle there. But I don't think that's worth doing. I don't think it's worth exposing our Cradle on a turn like that when we can just keep it and maybe draw a Shepherd and kill our opponent. I can see why they kept his hand. I had Force of Will and a Fury. Alright, we just had a little chat with our opponent at the end. They're a fan of the channel, so we're just talking about some various bits and pieces. They're asking me how my tournament went at the weekend. But yeah, so they kept a no-lander basically that had pretty key interaction. They just needed to find like a blue source, I think. Then they had like ponders and stuff to pull themselves out, but they just never got there. So we got trophy with elves. We got trophy with an elf deck that had 2 cards different to the list I was trying to play that had 3 Boseiju, but it didn't hurt us. In fact, the extra forests were really good because we could play around Wasteland quite nicely. Let's talk about the deck. So we had a game where we put both of these creatures into play at least once, which is the thing I wanted to do. The Leaf Crown Visionary was very good, actually. It kind of did a very good glimpse impression, and it was nice to have as a tutor target. I don't think it's like a 4 or anything, but it's pretty good. The Grist never came up this league, but obviously we all know and love Grist. It's a very powerful card that does what it does. The sideboarding, I definitely think I didn't sideboard optimally, but I sideboarded with a plan in mind each time and played towards that plan. So that's okay, but I imagine more experienced elf players would tell you differently. So even though we did get the trophy, don't necessarily take what I've done here as gospel. We are just doing... we're doing the best we can. I'm pretty happy with this Torsten guy there. He felt pretty good against a deck that was going to kill it rather than exile it, because 7 1/1s is a lot. Yeah, this card seems pretty nice. I'd never seen it before today, actually. So, pretty sweet. And I like the dinosaur. I'm a big fan of dinosaurs. So, who isn't a big fan of dinosaurs, right? So, but the dinosaur seemed pretty good. We got it and we killed some stuff in that game where we had the Craterhoof in hands. We had something else to natural order for. Now, it may not be a Progenitus because it's not going to sell through. But what it does do is it's something you can cast, unlike Progenitus, and it's something that it may not be an unblockable, untargetable thing, but it will clear out the opponent's board. And considering what the meta's like at the moment, I think clearing out the opponent's board is just better. So the list I found that I changed for this had the new Toxic Dinosaur from All Will Be One or whatever it's called, instead of this dinosaur, which made no sense to me, to be honest. I don't know why you want that. Like, it's a big uncounterable guy, but most of the time you're getting it with a counterable spell, so it just seems like a weird one to have, especially when it was also 7, so it was the same mana cost as Torsten. I don't know why you would ever want that instead of Torsten, really. So I smashed in the dinosaur, and I put 2 forests in instead of 2 bayous, 2 Boseijus, because the place I rent my stuff from didn't have any at the time. And the forests were great. I think, actually, this amount of basics was way better than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting to just want this Boseiju all the time. But actually, having cards that I could draw that were basics felt pretty good. Deck is smooth. Deck is good. We didn't get too jammed up by really fast combo decks. We managed to beat the Storm deck, but it was the slower Storm deck anyway. So, pretty happy about that. Sideboard-wise, I don't actually like this sideboard very much. I don't think that Dismember is necessarily where you want to be. I guess the one thing Dismember kills is Opposition Agent. But is having 1 Dismember in your deck worth having? I don't really think so, to be honest. I think we can probably do a little bit better here. Obviously, these things make sense. I like to have the Endurances. Now, I'd feel bad about the Endurances if I was against like a Reanimator deck, because they're just way worse than Leyline, but we do still have the Leylines to go with it, and we have the use. We've got 6 pieces of Graveyard Hate, but basically these 2 pieces aren't good enough. Sometimes Endurance works, but quite often it just gets discarded and doesn't do the thing. Scavenging Ooze is always too slow for Reanimator unless they've kept like a weird hand expecting a ley line with Serenity where they don't actually do anything. So there is that. The Reclamation Sage never really came up. Again, I think it's one of those things where maybe there are better options than the Reclamation Sage. This is a deck that could play Abrupt Decay potentially. Now, we can't cast Abrupt Decay underneath a Blood Moon, but we're not really bothered by Blood Moon. Like, Blood Moon stops our Cradles from doing anything. But we have a bunch of forests, and all of our and a load of our creatures tap for green mana. So we do still get to play the game, and a lot of those Blood Moony decks, like the Prison-y decks, they're not actually always putting a particularly fast clock on you, and you can usually soak up their tokens with a 2-2, like a Nettle Sentinel, and you can pretty much just go off anyway. So I don't think having Abrupt Decay for Blood Moon is what you want anyway. But it would be better than a Dismember, I think, because it does double duty in terms of killing little creatures as well as hitting problem permanents like Torpor Orb. Like we have one answer for Torpor Orb that doesn't actually answer Torpor Orb. So, yeah, we do have Thoughtseize as well, and we can just beat down with, and we have the Visionary, which kind of helps a little bit with that. But I think the sideboard could be improved on this deck, to be honest. But it worked for us today. We got a trophy, so can't really complain about that. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I think we'll wrap it up there. If you're still here, like, comment, subscribe. These things help me out. They don't cost you anything. Please do them. And also post my content to people you like who are interested in Legacy. I don't go on Reddit, so if you go on Reddit and there's like some groups that might want to see an elf deck that goes 5-0 and runs Torsten, then please post my content. It really helps me out. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.